Hi, folks. Hello, WAEE participants. Melissa Ruther here from the Wisconsin K-12 Energy Education Program, or KEEP. Today, we get to explore how you can use solar energy concepts to connect visitors to your site. But first, I want to introduce you to KEEP. So KEEP is, we are part of the Wisconsin Center for Environmental Education at the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point. And our goal is to increase energy literacy all throughout the state through those K-12 communities. So we do that through professional development, we do that through student and community engagement and activities, and so much more. So I would love for you to see where you can find more information about us, and that would be our website. So pulling up. All right, awesome. So here on our website, you can find all of our resources, whether it's our free curricula and various lessons. We have a lending program with trunks and kits. And not only that, you can check out what's going on these days. You can check out our calendar to see whether it's student-facing engagement or professional development engagement. You can see all of that on here. Check out, see if any of your needs are being met through these. Reach out to us if they're not. So KEEP is funded by some of our local utilities. We've got Alliant Energy, WPPI Energy, WAEE Energies, Wisconsin Public Service, Excel Energy, and Madison Gas and Electric. So thanks to those fine folks, we get to hang out here with you today. So what are we going to be covering today? We've got plenty. So first, why place-based education? Second, why solar energy? And third, we're going to explore your site and solar activities that you can be doing. So first, why place-based education? Well, what is place-based education? So place-based education is just a foundation for the study of language arts, mathematics, social studies, science, and all other subjects by immersing students in the following: that local heritage, cultures, landscapes, opportunities, and experiences around them. What are those benefits of doing place-based education? You're fostering the folks' connection to their place. You can create partnerships between schools, your sites, the community. You can boost student achievement, improve environmental, social, and economic vitality. There's so many great things. Place-based education is fabulous, especially when you think about how you connect with places. So if we were in person, I would make you draw your favorite place. But for today, I want you to just think about it. Get an image in your mind of your place, your favorite place. And now, why is it special? My example is going to be water, all water. I love sitting near water. I love swimming in water. I love investigating wildlife and vegetation in water. I love kayaking. And why? Because I get to connect with that environment. I get to see the fun, creepy crawlies that live in the water. I get to go sit on the water, and if I'm stressed or happy, it's a place to relax and relieve myself. As I'm traveling down a river on my kayak, I get to go from a farming area to a small town to a county park. So many different connections I get to make with this place. So many ways I get to fall in love with my place by exploring, like we mentioned earlier, the culture of a place, the experiences, the opportunities, etc. So think about why you connect with your place, what makes your place special. And now I want you to think about how we can build folks' connection, whether it's students or visitors' connection to your place through solar energy. So why solar energy though? It's because it connects to so many things. We can connect it to students because of all of the great standards, right? So if you have to use standards to get field trips approved or whatnot, this is a great way to do it. Younger grades have those basic energy concepts. And then as you move on in years, you can start exploring things like how we use solar energy to do work, or how electricity is created through solar panels, or how to create a community project based around getting a solar array, or how to make that work. You can do that with students. With community members, it's the same, right? You can reintroduce them to topics maybe they don't remember learning in school, or how do they connect? Maybe you do have a solar array, or maybe there's a solar array in town. Help them connect to those types of ideas through your site. But not only that, this can also be used as a tool to help you through research, through projects with students, or maybe it's citizen science with your community. Maybe you can explore alternative energy for your site. So now I want you to think about your site. Again, if we were in person, I would make you draw your site or pull up a map on a mobile device or whatnot. So I would ask you to think about your site. So visualize your site. How do you use your site right now? So you don't have to think about the energy side. Just think about how you use your site. So I'm going to use Schmeekley Reserve as my example. And why? It's just because I know Schmeekley Reserve very well. And I have used it for a lot of reasons. So think about your site and how are you already doing programming? Or just how are you already connecting people? So as Schmeekley, let's say I might be doing programs at Lake Jonas about maybe a fish survey, or looking at aquatic invertebrates and doing a survey to see who lives in the water. Maybe I am at Zimmerman Prairie looking to or giving a program on why burning a prairie is so important. So there's plenty of things I already know connect with Schmeekley that I've seen done or that I have done. Right? Okay, so now you've got your ideas of how you already use your site. Again, in your map, how do you use each of those areas of your site? In the building, around the building, and outside, if you have a building. So now I want you to think, how can we start adding solar energy concepts to existing programs or things you would create later? For example, if I were going back to Lake Jonas, and let's say I am going to look at those aquatic invertebrates I studied earlier. Now, what I could do is look at something like a food chain, right? A lot of those aquatic invertebrates are eating plants. How are those plants getting their energy? From the sun, right? So even something as simple as that, you can make that connection back to the sun. Schmeekley's another great example because they did just get a small solar array right at their parking lot. So you can see it right as you pull up, which is awesome. But you 100% can make a program based around having that solar array. You can look at how that outputs the energy costs and needs to run the visitor center there. So you can have those big concepts or some of those more basic concepts depending on who you're working with. So now that we have looked at using our place as a tool, we've looked at why in the world we would care about solar. What are a few of the things we can actually do? So I just want to give you some examples of activities, and I'll show you on the next slide. Some of them will have a little place for you to click. I hope you're able to download these slides later because those will link you directly to some of our KEEP activities or some of the resources that we will use a lot of times in programming. So some of those solar activities. First, investigating solar energy. By the way, my dog is walking around. I apologize. Working at home. So investigating solar energy at your site. So you could have visitors take a minute and see how they observe the sun, not looking at it, how they observe the sun, and why is the sun important. What's really nice with these questions is why the sun is important is going to look so different for people, right? Based on their experiences or their knowledge with the sun. Maybe a student you're working with has a solar array at home, or maybe someone uses the sun to warm up their home when it's cold outside, right? Letting that sun come in through the windows and whatnot. So everyone's going to have different ideas or reasons why the sun is important. Then you can have folks come together and discuss it, talk about why the sun is important, see like what are some of those common themes, what do people know, what are some places to explore more during a program. And then you can bring, depending on your group, bring in some of those sustainability topics. Why is the sun important to us in terms of sustainability? And this, believe it or not, you can bring up with younger folks all the way, from pre-K to 90, bring up this topic. It's a really good conversation to have. So how do we use the sun when in terms of sustainability? And another nice thing with something as simple as this is you get to use some of those basic energy concepts, again, whether young folks or older folks, looking for the evidences of energy. So remember, evidences of energy, we're looking for light, heat, sound, and movement. And we want to use those and our senses to observe how the sun is present in our place. So that's one activity. Another, taking temperatures. Again, refer to the link below to see the entire lesson. But this is really nice because you can use a thermometer to investigate things like shading, coloring, and other factors that are affecting the temperature of a different area. So you can use an infrared thermometer and have students or visitors, participants, record the temperatures that they're seeing, and then start thinking of how and why those temperatures might be different. Maybe it's a material that the sun is shining on. Maybe they look at the top of leaf litter and then look underneath leaf litter. Why are those differences occurring? So this is a really great one for exploring different areas on your site. So definitely check this one out. Again, taking temperatures. Food chains, I kind of brought this up earlier. Another really great activity you can do with folks is looking at the food chain. So energy levels and trophic levels. So we are losing energy as we go from level to level, right? But if you look at this simple example, anything we start with ends up connecting back to the sun. And that's a really, right? The sun is fueling all. It's our biggest energy source. So you can do something like having your students draw out or write, looking at one critter and then what are they consuming? What are they consuming? What are they consuming? It's all going to lead back to the sun, which is awesome. And again, that's really nice, especially if you have different habitats in your area or some of those big charismatic critters that people really like. Back to my Schmeekley Reserve example, like everyone loves the deer there. They're like the puppies of the reserve. So finding those critters, and then you can always backtrack to plants needing the sun. Pretty cool. Utilizing your grounds. This activity, I started with what I started with earlier. Think about your site. How can you integrate some of those sustainability issues and opportunities into science curriculum and have people investigate that? So have your visitors investigate how you can bring those in. So not only should you do that, just so you have an understanding, but you can have folks do that with you. So for example, citing for solar, you can have folks build a solar pathfinder, and the point is they are going to investigate your site to see whether or not it's a good fit, or specific spots on your site. Is it a good fit for putting a solar array? What's nice with this is this activity, and especially like looking at it to see if it fits at your site, you can start bringing in a bunch of other really cool sources. For example, you can have this. What does the solar resource look like in Wisconsin? Is Wisconsin even a good place to put panels? Well, actually, it happens to be. It is a decent place to do it. So the solar energy falling on Wisconsin each year is roughly 500 times, a little bit more than that, the amount of energy that's actually used in Wisconsin. That's pretty cool. So you can start bringing in that research component, have folks see, look at what data is already out there, come up with your own, actually having them cite, you cite for solar on your site. So having folks do those different activities, compare it with data that already exists. Good stuff. Another really cool thing I would love to bring up is something that's being worked on by KEEP's awesome graduate assistant, Stephanie Eit. Stephanie has been working on solar dashboard lessons. So what is a solar dashboard? So a solar dashboard, if you let me say right away, you don't need to have a solar array on your site, but a solar dashboard is a visual that most solar arrays will come with for you to see how much energy is being produced in a given day, year, etc. So it's not like the dashboard on your car, but it is similar in the fact that it does tell you a lot of really cool information. So here is one example of what a dashboard might look like. And I'll try and pop up another one here in a bit. But as you can see here, you can see how many kilowatts are being used or are being of energy are being created. And it might give you some equivalencies on there. So maybe like how many trees have been planted, or here it shows how many miles within a trip in an electric car. So it gives you some of those equivalencies, so you aren't only looking at raw data, but you are also getting some visuals to help you understand that data. But that data is super important. It's real world data that your students and other folks visiting your site get to use. So there's STEM connections in there. You get to create projects, again, whether it's you looking at solar on your site, maybe there's an array close by that you can see the dashboard for, or other projects on your site. Yeah, I mean, there's a plethora of things you can do with this awesome data. So again, the dashboard will show you how much energy is being produced. It tells you the story of all of the energy production that has occurred over time. Awesome. So KEEP decided to create an inquiry lesson based around dashboards. So remember, I said you don't have to have a solar array on your site. So what's nice is KEEP, Stephanie, went through and created an ArcGIS layer looking at different public facing, so that means solar dashboards for different sites that anyone can access. No, you can't go in there and manipulate things. You can just go in there and see what is happening with that dashboard in real time. So there are dashboards throughout the United States and throughout the world that we decided to look at. And we wanted to do this on ArcGIS because it's a really easy way for classrooms to interact with already made maps. And another really cool plug, actually, schools here in Wisconsin can get an ArcGIS account. You should check that out. It's pretty awesome. But then what's nice is you can use these pre-made maps, and then you can put other layers, other types of data over them. So whether it's data from the EPA or whatnot, you can plug that in there too to see how things overlay. GIS is also really great because if you're wanting to make a career connection, it's something that a lot of careers now in natural resources, it's a good skill to have. So it's one of those really nice things. If you're a site trying to get students there, they can walk away with a really cool skill. All right, so inquiry-based lesson. So students look at the map to explore variations in generation between solar sites throughout the world. Again, remember I said a bunch in the US and then some scattered throughout the world. So this is an example of a solar array that is on a landfill in Wisconsin, and then one that's on a school in Nigeria in January and June. So you get to compare the different times, right, and different types of locations. As you can see, they're very different in January and in June. So what can students do? They can start looking for those patterns. What about the sites might make these things different? What about the solar, the energy that's actually raining down on those areas? So people can start looking for the differences in time and space at various sites. The second part of this is you can toggle between layers. Remember, it's easy to put pre-made maps in there and whatnot. Toggle between layers to uncover sources of solar variability. Again, easy to plug in layers. You get to look at various data access from all over the world. Looking at things like renewable energy placement, is there good generation potential in a certain site for these arrays, etc. And you get to explore whether or not solar is a good idea for an alternative to fossil fuels at your site. Pretty cool. But one of the biggest things I want to point out is this is a really good way to make connections. So there's a variety of connections that have already been suggested in the work Stephanie's been doing. And one thing I really want to point out is this is an awesome way for you to connect with your school district if you don't have solar on your site, but they do. So even if one school has an array, they have a forward-facing dashboard, or if you're a partner with the district, you can work together to make lessons and make new projects, get more of that inquiry at your site and whatnot by using that data that's already being produced and collected. So that's something to definitely consider if you don't have solar on your site or you're not planning on it and you happen to have a district that does. So again, having these dashboards can tell you so much. You can compare different locations in Wisconsin, see why your area is or isn't great for solar power in terms of energy, electricity production. So let me show you real quick one of the examples. We'll use Schmeekley Reserve again, since that's my example all day. All right, so for Schmeekley, right now the sun is not out at the moment, but otherwise it would be showing you exactly how much energy is being produced right now. However, you can look at day, week, month, billing cycle, year, and you can see the fluctuations in that energy production. Look at the comparative energy from year to year. So this array is pretty new, so you aren't going to see a lot of difference. Again, some of these will have these little equivalencies over here for you to check out, but if they don't, you can look at EPA's equivalency calculator. And what's nice with this is all you need is the kilowatt hours of electricity being used, and then you get this awesome visual of what that's compared to. So for example, having, what did I put in there, 10,000 kilowatt hours of electricity is the equivalent to 796 gallons of gasoline consumed. So students can have these really great visuals, again, to help them understand what that means using this certain amount of energy. A really cool example I just want to really quickly bring up of a site that is using renewable energy resources to tell their story and beyond is Bubolt's Nature Preserve. Bubolt's partnered with Faith Technologies to create this microgrid, meaning this wonderful, it's a variety of different energy sources that they are using to get the electricity needed to run their visitor center. Pretty awesome. So they even created this immersion center, which is really nice. So they have taken education in so many directions. It's awesome. So first, they have the signage in different places that tells you the story of this microgrid, because they're not just using solar, they're using solar and they're using natural gas and nitrogen. They're using so many different things to create their electricity. Within the immersion center, they have these really cool screens that are showing you, just like a dashboard would, what's going on when. So you can specifically see, hey, the solar panels are doing a lot of work today. They even have a battery for collecting any of the energy that they're not using. So it's a pretty cool system. They went as far as to work with Keep to develop some lessons exploring different renewable energy resources components, and definitely solar was a part of that. So these different lessons for students to explore their site and explore this really cool resource while they're visiting, and then to take those concepts beyond. We covered a lot today. We looked at why place-based education, why solar energy. So again, right, we want to connect people to where they are, help them tell their stories or find a story where they are. Solar energy is connected to all of us in so many ways, even if it's as simple as our food being grown with sun. And then there were a lot of activities. So I know I say now it's your turn, but I'm going to say it one more time after I tell you that I did link some of our resources in here for you. Definitely explore them. We do have a whole section of nothing but solar activities you can use with work from Keep. So now it's your turn. So what that means, we looked at your site earlier. We looked at all of these cool examples of things you could be doing. Now do it. And I'm not saying you have to go create a bunch of new programs. I'm just saying that this is a really awesome topic that you can bring in, not just for general energy concepts or electricity, but bringing those great sustainability components as well, really help people connect, help them find what about solar energy they connect to help them connect to your site. So again, explore your site, find what works for you, add these things into already there programs or create new. If you want to create new, contact us. We'll gladly help you try and make connections between what you're already doing and what you can be doing. So check us out on social media or hit us up on our emails, my contacts on there. I really hope you can get excited about looking at your site in such a different way. Not a lot of people look at their site and think, what solar things can I do today? But I hope now you'll at least have that in the back of your mind, even if it's only for the next 5 minutes. Think about how you can fit solar in there. There's so many cool ways. Thank you so much for joining me. I don't know if you're doing it right now or already did, but I hope you enjoyed WAEE, and I would love to work with you in the future. Have an awesome day, folks.